All right, it says we're live. If you all missed, I made a quick live stream last night. I received a call from Dr. Paul Cottrell stating that he will be interviewing the whistleblower from New York State who has a wife in the medical field who actually left a message on Dr. Paul Cottrell's voicemail stating that there are cases of the coronavirus in New York, and basically how the CDC is possibly hiding it, so to speak, or maybe the powers that be, in New York State, Cuomo, Bill de Blasio, whatnot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the link to the he sent me this morning. Well, he called me and then sent me the link. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Let me turn this down. I have yet to listen to it. It's a 21-minute interview. So I'm going to actually just put the link in the chat right there. I'll put it in. It's not showing it coming up yet. All right, there it is up top. So what I'm going to do, I know it's early. A lot of y'all are probably sleeping or at church. So I'm going to play the interview on the phone. And then if Brother Mitchell happens to stumble in here, if you could grab the link that I just posted and go ahead and, put it up throughout. But it's going to be a short live stream. Once again, Dr. Paul Cottrell called me. Let's see what time he called me. 17 minutes ago. For those who don't believe me, there's Dr. Paul, 17 minutes ago. So, okay, I'm going to go to the link that he shared with me, and I am going to play it, and hopefully y'all can hear it. Like I said, I haven't heard it yet. Let's see, bear with me here. It's still not early for me. I just didn't sleep well because I had an issue with some piece of garbage. I'll go to my text message. There we go. All right, there's the link that he sent me from Dr. Paul. So I'm not making this is the link. So I'm gonna hit play.
So we're gonna go over this situation. Okay, so we're gonna go over this situation whereby it seems as though the CDC is hiding the true numbers of COVID-19 in the state of New York. So I have a caller online, and we're going to go over in detail specifically what is going on. So, thank you for sharing this information, and go ahead and tell your story.
So I live in the Buffalo, New York area. I live in the suburbs around Buffalo, and it's a pretty small town. And there's a lot of small towns of like 10,000 or so, 20,000 around the outskirts of Buffalo. And there's a large college here, University of Buffalo, and they have about 1,500 students from mainland China. This is according to their website. After the winter break happened, the winter break started in like mid-December and ended, I think, January 7th. And ever since it ended, there had been like every few days there would be somebody that would come into the hospitals and where my wife works, and she would say, hey, oh, there's another person from Wuhan or another person from China with pneumonia. And this was before it was like a really major deal on the news. And it's just a steady trickle of people had been coming in, getting tested for coronavirus at the Kaleida Healthcare Systems. Kaleida Healthcare owns the hospitals.
Can you spell that?
In New York.
Can you spell that?
Kaleida, I believe, is spelled K-A-L-I-E-D-A. And that's the company that operates most of the hospitals here in Western New York. And that's where my family works. So ever since the UP semester started again. There's been people at the campus coming in, and there's also been a few people that I guess have crossed from Canada over to Buffalo because we're right near the border, and there's been a steady trickle of people going into DeGraff and going into Fillmore Suburban, and people being tested both positive and negative for coronavirus for about the last month and a week.
Now, when you say coronavirus, you're talking about COVID-19, right?
Correct. I'm talking about COVID-19, the virus that originated in Wuhan, China. And I think the most alarming case that comes to my mind is January.
I'm going to pause this real quick and just say ahead of time, a lot of people may say this is fake news, etc. Just the tone of this guy's voice and his knowledge and everything, I honestly don't believe he's lying at all. So anyways, I'm going to continue playing. I just wanted to put that out there for all y'all that see this in the archives. Just listen to the tone of his voice, basically his passion and every detail that he gives. So
28. This is a very major one because all the other ones that people haven't done that sick in the hospitals either been testing or not testing them, and even if they are tested positive, they release them. But this one was kind of different. On the 28th, a Chinese man in Rwanda seemed to be very sick. He had trouble breathing, a fever, pneumonia, coughing. So MS picked him up and bring him into my wife's work. And there was a lot of calls going around. My wife was present. They were calling the CDC. They were calling a bunch of people because this was kind of the first case where it wasn't like the asymmetric or the very mild symptoms that you hear. Some people have mild and some people are very severe. So I think this was the first person with a severe case. So they were calling CDC. They were calling everybody at Kaleida. They were calling all the higher ups how to deal with this person. They originally went into the ER, and then there's one airborne room at DeGraff, and they placed them in the airborne room eventually. My wife was there. They were calling everybody, and eventually Kaleida told all the healthcare workers that COVID-19 is airborne, and they need to start taking airborne precautions because prior to this, they didn't have any precautions in place. Like, there's not even a poster in any of the hospitals at Kaleida. There's been no meetings. People had been wearing gloves. They hadn't even been wearing surgical masks, testing or imaging these people.
So before you go any further, let's just clarify in terms here. When they say airborne, are they saying airborne because of drop?
all right there, be vegan. You control this channel all you want. I really don't care. I'm just saying you can say whatever you want. Control this. It's fear porn, etc. I really, truly don't care. Sister Awake and everybody, but go ahead, vegan, on this channel. Say whatever you want. I don't know the facts. I'm just going. That's why I'm playing this and putting out the link, because I was contacted by Dr. Paul Cottrell to go ahead and help release this to get the information out. So say what you want to say. I don't care. You don't faze me. Troll another channel or just keep on trolling. Enjoy yourself.
Droplets, or are they saying airborne?
No, they're talking about those very small particles that can linger in the air for more than 3 to 6 feet. They're talking about it can go across large rooms and large areas, not the droplet size.
Okay.
Kaleida has told the healthcare workers there that it is airborne and to treat it like tuberculosis. So on the 28th, when the man was admitted to DeGraff, my family was there. They overheard the CDC calls. They overheard all the calls to management. The young woman who had to go into the room to image them was freaked out. She was panicking. Nobody at DeGraff, 99% of the people at DeGraff couldn't even tell you where the airborne room is. And it's the same at all the Kaleida hospitals. Each hospital has either no airborne rooms or one airborne room. And pretty much nobody there has used it. My wife's been working for Kaleida for about 15 years. She's never even used the airborne room. Nobody really has. So they were panicked. They had no idea what to go in there. They finally decided on hazmat and N95 and gloves. They did not start using goggles yet. My wife was saying you probably should be using goggles, but they weren't even advising for that yet. The Tonawanda Fire Department that arrived at the scene on the 28th actually made a Facebook post alerting the public that they picked up a man who had recently been in Tonawanda, and they made a Facebook post. The Facebook post actually was deleted the 29th, and there's a news article about it that Gail Bernstein told the Tonawanda Fire Department to delete the post alerting the public of a suspected coronavirus case. And I think this is the most public case that people can, with their own eyes, go and see.
Well, why did she delete the post? Why did she delete the post?
Gail Bernstein, who's the health commissioner for Erie County, which Buffalo is in, she forced the Tonawanda Fire Department to delete the post and place the gag order on healthcare workers and
But why?
EMS.
Why did she do that?
Her reasoning, I guess, was because it doesn't really make sense. There's a news article. She said that she did one.
I don't believe this is the doctor. Careful whom you believe. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like, once again, go ahead and troll all you want. I'm just relaying the message here. In the description box, you'll see where I put fact or fiction, ? That's for you all to decide. So real quick, let me just go ahead and drop the link. If y'all don't want to hear it this way, you can go straight to the video itself from Dr. Paul Cottrell. Turn this thing down. So right there is the link I just put. I'm going to go back if you don't want to listen to it this way, which I don't blame you. But there's a link to the actual interview if somebody can snatch that up. If not, that's fine because I don't see Brother Mitchell anywhere. Let me go back.
She said that she didn't want the public to be panicked or concerned. And she, at the same time, she said, don't go online trusting people on social media or Facebook. And she said, only trust the CDC and the New York State government. But I feel like we can trust our firemen to tell us the truth on a Facebook post. I'm actually stunned. She shouldn't have forced our firemen to delete a post alerting the public about this. It's kind of mind-boggling that she did that.
Right. Okay.
So for my and I have a lot of friends also. I have friends that work at Roswell. I have friends that work at most of the hospitals around Buffalo, and just everybody has been seeing people that have been tested for coronavirus. There's, as far as my wife knows, there's 6 people that have tested positive, and all of the people that test positive, most of them just leave, but all of them leave before the results that came in. The man at the graph is like the first person who stayed more than a few hours. Everybody else is just being let go. And it doesn't matter what the test results are. They're not doing contact tracing. Nothing serious is really happening. The hospitals are extremely underprepared. N95 masks is a big deal. I would like my wife and my family to have access to those. Management at Kalida keeps them in a room that only like the manager has a key to. There's no precautions. Kalida Health does not order extra N95 masks. They actually are extremely low on masks. The imaging departments at the graph actually ran out of CDs, and you need the CDs to record the lung images of people. That's one way they diagnose people with the Wuhan coronavirus. And Clyde actually fired a woman named Mary Nowalski, who is an LPN there, for trying to ask the public for donations for imaging CDs. And so one of the tools that we need to diagnose and combat this with, the graph does not even have.
All right. So how many cases have gone through Kalida and have been tested positive for COVID-19?
Just 6 that I know of, but how many others are there in Buffalo and Niagara Falls and Rochester? But I've read a few articles where there's about a dozen people placed in isolation in their homes suspected to have it. There was a prisoner in the Buffalo prison system that they released on Friday. They suspected to have it, a man named Kevin Q. And they didn't even test him. They just said they thought he had it and he was released.
I saw that. I read that too on Drudge Report.
Watertown, New York, that are in isolation about it, but they won't say the exact number, so it's unclear.
Are there any hospital staff that have been getting the COVID-19 that's been testing positive?
I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't be surprised because in the early weeks of January, people weren't even wearing masks or gloves when they were imaging or swab testing them. It's only recently, until the 28th, that airborne rules have been implemented in the hospital systems here.
All right.
So I wouldn't be surprised.
And all these 6 cases, they've been tested with at the CDC or at the hospital?
They're doing swab tests at the hospital, and then they're sending the test results out to the CDC, and those test results are usually taking a few days. And meanwhile, while the test results are out, the people will already leave the ER.
And then those test results come back to the hospital, and then the hospital is notified that individual has COVID-19. And then once they know that someone has COVID-19, do they contact those individuals? Or what exactly is once the hospital knows from the CDC that they have a COVID-19 patient, what happens?
Basically nothing. I'm not aware whether they contact them or not. That they do contact them, but I can tell you that the nurses and the doctors treating the people are not aware of the results. In the hospital, they place boards in certain rooms, in the rooms or outside the rooms, so that people are aware of, of like what's going on, how to treat them, what kind of medicine they're on. Every time somebody has a confirmed case of this, they're deleting the board so that nobody in the hospital knows. So they're trying to keep it hush.
All right, so wait, I'm a little confused here. Someone is sick. They go to the hospital. They get a swab, and there's also they get a swab. They have a test at the hospital and then at the CDC.
Yeah, so
wait, hold on. Let me finish. I want to make sure that everyone that's listening to this understands very clearly, because everyone that's going to be listening is going to nitpick this to death. So I'm going to make it as simple as possible for stupid people. Okay. All right. So when people, someone's sick and they're going to the hospital, the hospital protocol during this time period was to do a swab, do a test on site, and then also have the CDC on a different site do a test for COVID-19. So at the hospital, the hospital only probably could determine if it's coronavirus. They couldn't determine if it's COVID-19 because they didn't have a test kit yet.
The hospitals themselves can't confirm it. They have to send the swab test out to the CDC.
Okay. All right. So they're treating the patient while they're waiting for CDC to determine if it's positive or negative COVID-19 case. So this individual, wait, hold on. It's in the individuals treated and then let go into the public while the hospital's waiting for the CDC. Correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. All right. So that individual could be infected. That individual could be infecting the population, waiting for the CDC's results, which come.
Yes.
When does the CDC results come back?
They take about 2 to 3 days.
Okay. All right. So 2 to 3 days later, this person has been running around buying, tomatoes at the grocery store, infecting people. Okay. Now, all right. So now, what happens when the hospital is notified that they have a COVID-19 case confirmed at the CDC?
Nothing happens.
So this person is just walking around still buying tomatoes?
Yeah, they don't do anything. They don't try to find people that they've been in contact with. They don't do anything.
How can that be?
I don't understand why they don't even place most of the people into the airborne rooms. A lot of people just walk in and are just in the triage.
All right, name the hospitals. Name all the hospitals that these cases are at.
There's 2 hospitals in West New York that I'm aware of, which are Miller, Fillmore.
Wait. Slowly.
Now, Oliver, you said, yeah, I think this guy is full of crap. The problem is they aren't testing people. Well, he did say that they are testing people that came from Wuhan because there's a college that has, I can't remember how many thousands of Chinese, same with Wisconsin University. I found out a lot of people, students from Wuhan, China, come. He said this started back January 5th, that basically they have to give them the test and then send it off to the CDC. And it takes 3 days, 4 days. I'm not quite sure. Like I said, this is for y'all to decide fact or fiction. I don't think that his name, he wants to keep, anonymous. He's not making it sound outlandish. He says, well, possibly 6 cases. He's not saying 100 cases, fear mongering. So, anyways, like I said, it's up to you all. Me, truthfully, I believe the guy. Look at our corrupt world. So,
First one is what?
It's Miller, and that's in Tonawanda. And the other one is Millard, Fillmore, Suburban.
Millard, Fillmore?
Yeah, and that's in Amherst, New York.
all right, thank you for the people by the people. 3 days just for mail, maybe 5 days for test results.
So the graph in Millard, Fillmore.
Okay.
That's that. Oliver, if you listen in the beginning, he's talking about the people that came back from winter break from Wuhan, China, started showing up in the hospital with pneumonia-like symptoms. Back in February 5th is what he's talking about. So that's the connection to China. The caller is. So, like I said, you're free to believe it or not. I'll put the link in the chat before I get off here, and you all can go listen to it for yourself. But like I said, this guy's, I don't know what, don't sound like a hoax to me, because usually when they're if it's a prank call or something, they get real outlandish. Like, yeah, there's 1,000 people out on the street dead, and blah blah blah, or at least 100 cases. He said possibly 6 cases. So let's
now. Over these cases were over what period of time? Starting January 28th. They have been confirmed with the CDC.
So they started in probably about mid-January. People had started coming in.
No, but
early January.
They have been confirmed at the CDC.
Oh,
because I thought some came in and they weren't even tested at the CDC. Is that true? Or all cases that they thought were COVID-19 were tested?
No, this isn't live right now.
They're not testing everybody who comes in and thinks
all right,
that
I just want
even people from
okay, so you're saying that people were coming in mid-January, but cases were starting, but they weren't fully testing at mid-January. But my question specifically is, when did they start testing COVID-19 at the CDC? With those cases?
They started, the hospital here started sending samples out in about the early January. A little bit after the first week of January is when they first started sending them out. Around January 8th or 9th. is when they first started sending tests out.
And they still sending them out now? They
Yeah,
still have
people-
new cases? I mean, there's new cases coming in like yesterday or the day before or today?
I'm not aware of any in the last few days, but there's been several this month and last month.
So you're talking about, when you say several, you're talking 10 to 15 cases then?
I'm talking of at least 6 cases where people have it.
But there's still, my point is that how many do you think have been being tested for COVID-19 since these 6 cases?
My wife only knows of 6, but there's rumors going around.
See, right there, he could have said 100 or 50 or something. You know, if he's trying to, you know, scare people or, you know, prank people. Like I said, he's remaining anonymous. This is the information he's getting from his wife. So he could have been like, oh no, they're, you know, they're quarantined in their house. They're locked up in the hospital. There's 100 cases. He's not, you know, he's just being very modest with the number, 6 cases, which isn't unreasonable. 6 cases from, you know, all the college students came from Wuhan after winter break. I don't know.
The hospital, and they don't inform the nurses.
We know for sure 6, but we don't know if there's additional cases being tested and not confirmed yet.
If I had to guess, I would say several dozen.
Okay.
Maybe 100.
All right, but we're just going to stick with
Those are the ones
right
that
now because that's
they didn't
confirmed. All right, and we know from the database that hasn't been issued by Johns Hopkins yet. So something's not making sense here.
Yeah,
you guys had,
like,
you know, the hospital still has let out these individuals into the public. There doesn't seem to be a protocol to bring them back. And there definitely aren't.
No protocols.
And since you and I both live in New York State, we haven't been informed that this is happening.
Yeah, it's not on like any New York State site. When I go online and I see how many tests there are in New York, Buffalo has tested more people than the CDC in New York State even admits has been tested in New York City. It doesn't make sense that the suburbs around Buffalo are having more confirmed and suspected cases than all of New York City. Amherst is only like 10,000 people, but they're testing more people than all of New York City, which is 9 million. Tonawanda is 10,000 people, and somebody has it.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to share before I publish this, and then I'm gonna call our senator and figure out what's going on?
I just want the public to be aware, and I want the public to be aware that our hospitals, things like ECMO machines, we only have, like Millard and DeGrasse, they only have a handful each. Millard Fillmore has 5 ECMO machines. They haven't placed orders for masks or anything. I have a friend who owns a private practice here. He only has 20 masks in his office. The hospitals here, they don't have supplies in place or anything. There's not even a poster here. We don't have any. Nobody from the CDC has like came to the hospitals. No, the management hasn't held a meeting for anything. The hospital staff they're not prepared, and there's no leadership and there's no protocols that have been put into place yet. I want them to like, if you have tuberculosis and you're infectious, you can't leave the hospital. They'll get like a court order where you have to stay in isolation. But they're testing people, and people are going back out in the street, walking around before their test results even come back.
Right. That's a big problem. Definitely a big problem.
And also Gail Bernstein of the Erie County Health Commissioner, she has publicly stated that she's not going to confirm or deny suspected or confirmed cases. So I'm wondering why New York State keeps saying that there's no coronavirus and there's no people being tested for it, but at the same time they've also released statements through the Erie County Health Commissioner saying they won't confirm or deny cases. So they're saying 2 different things. They need to start putting the numbers on the Johns Hopkins, on the CDC they need to start putting these numbers up.
I have one last question. Do you know the severity of the 6 cases when they left the hospital?
So 5 of them were extremely mild, and the 1/6 case seemed pretty severe.
And that severe case was let out of the hospital?
Yeah, they were let out of the hospital.
Okay. All right, that's all I had. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you for your help. And if there's anything that you that would like to share, later down the road, please give me a call. Okay.
Yeah, I really appreciate you getting us out there.
All right. Once again, that was Dr. Paul called me around 8:45. I made a video last night stating that I would go ahead once he interviewed the so-called whistleblower that remains anonymous. So-called whistleblower. Anyways, I'm going to put the link in the bottom if you want to hear the whole thing from Dr. Paul's channel. You said y'all are entitled to believe it or not believe it, but I just don't see what this caller has to gain by not giving out any of his information, remaining anonymous, and not making it sound like total pandemic. He even said the 5 out of 6 cases, 5 cases were extremely mild. So for people to say, "Oh, it's fear mongering, it's fake," why would it be so hard to fathom that there are cases in New York City when right here Shanna says 7 confirmed cases in Des Moines, Iowa? There's confirmed cases all over the United States right now. So sometimes you got to think outside the box and not be so quick to judge and say this is, it's all fake, it's all fear mongering. But write down, and once again, I'll put the link one more time, and then I'm going to hop off here. We will be going live around probably 4:30. Might be going live on Vern's channel today. So, or I might come up a little live after a couple hours or so. So, anyways, if you look, I just put the link in the chat once again to the actual interview. Listen to it, decide for yourself. But I feel that the my wife works in the hospital too. I ask her all the time, are they having meetings and letting you staffers know that? She said no. The only thing they did is they gave a piece of paper talking about the coronavirus like 3 weeks ago, basically how to wash your hands and stuff. It was just 2 pieces of paper right here. I still got them. This is what they gave me. CDC hadn't come in. Nobody's warned them, or a lot of people in the hospital, cleaners and stuff that didn't receive this, don't even know about the coronavirus. There's so many people out there that don't. Yeah, exactly, Rudy. There are 1,000 people quarantined in Los Angeles. I mean, and it just, like I said, people, everybody wants to come on here. Not everybody, but the ones that don't believe this want to go on and try to tell people. I say don't let your guard down, because if you let your guard down, you believe what a lot of people say, that it's all fake and this and that, you might end up with this, and that could be your life. So prepare. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, or prepare for the worst, hope for the best. I don't know how it goes, but something like that. Debbie says we're in Los Angeles now. This quarantine, the 1,000 people, they're actually quarantined basically in their homes, and by being quarantined, that's a form of medical martial law if you're not allowed to leave your home. Just like in China, people think, oh, it can't happen. I've talked about this many times. That's why it's so vital and so important to get out there and get plenty of food and water. Whatever you can afford, buy the cheap crap, whatever. This isn't about, and try to build your immune system if you can. Do your own research and come up with your own conclusions, folks. Absolutely. I'm a strong believer in that as well. He gave out some good information. Good. He even said, I believe, I can't remember exactly offhand, who put out a statement. Listen back and find her name and and look and try to Google, find out where she made the statement where she said they're not going to confirm or deny any cases of the coronavirus in New York. So the CDC doesn't want to scare people. The truth is what's important. It can save lives. Amen. And I believe strongly that this is a form of Agenda 21. Many people don't believe in it, but true documents from the UN, you can Google them. They're actual government UN official documents. Agenda 21, talking about depopulation, etc. So anyways, fear no man, never fear death, get right with God, fight the good fight, and always stay locked and loaded. Oh, and Watchmen, it's not over yet, brother.